The countdown is the best bit.
It is the good bit.
Right. Brand mascots.
Yes, and we should talk about terminology, labeling, always. Brand mascot, brand
True.
character, fluent device, distinctive asset, a thing. Sometimes it's just put a thing in the ad.
Yeah. I so when you sent the video, we should mention that video. Have you watched it? I
I have
watched the
watched it. I
video.
have watched it. Yeah, I've done the
Good.
homework. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so Flora shared a video by Let's Talk Branding called "Are Brand Mascots Making a Comeback?" Which I enjoyed. It's very good.
It's true, and we'd like for them to make a comeback. We're behind this as a
I mean,
movement,
we should
principally.
if that's not been clear,
Yeah.
our general approach to things to date, it will be clear from this. But you're right. I instantly thought, oh no, that brand mascots is not what they're called. But then I
No.
couldn't think what it was that I would call them. So
I would call them characters. Also because
yeah,
a character is a word that for me comes with nice stretchiness and is redolent of having a personality. Whereas for me, a mascot
mm,
is shortcut to annoying, like dressed like a hot dog, or sort of a weird sports adjacent thing, like for like a high school football team, like
yeah,
always gets bullied in
yeah.
films. Sad.
Well,
So that's
and I
where
mean,
my mind goes.
I just think of Gunnosaurus.
Well, yeah, which is probably worth an episode of its own, really.
Yes, this is
Yeah.
true. Have you ever worked with a brand mascot?
I worked with them. We were actually talking about energy mascots because we know how to have fun in this house. And we're talking about gas and lecky, which I did work on briefly.
Right.
And because we should talk about the British Gas campaign that's out now on telly, and in other places, but I saw it on telly, which is a family of of brand characters. It's a family of kind of blue puffy things.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and it's top drawer CGI. They basically look like four or five blue sort of dusty dust clouds, dusters,
Yeah,
fluffy balls. But
yeah.
they're obviously brought anthropomorphized, and I think they're great. And Hayden hates them. And I was like, look, for British Gas, I immediately look at them and think cozy. Um, they are objectively quite cute, and they make me hate British Gas a tiny bit less. Like, job done.
Yeah, that's interesting. I haven't seen
Yeah.
that. I like that.
But that's the only character I think that I've worked on. I've suggested a shed load, and they never get bought because, and we'll get on to the reason why. But you tell me yours.
I have worked. I was thinking about this. I was convinced that I must have done, but I'm quite pleased with this one. I slightly worked with Clippy, who's the Microsoft,
My God,
you know,
iconic property. Yes. Can I help
um,
you? No. No, I don't
yes,
want your help.
exactly. I mostly dealt with the consequences of Clippy rather than worked with. And I briefly sort of worked with someone I will reveal when we get to the top three
Of course, of
mascots.
course.
I'll talk about that at that point.
I'm
But
just going to put in
that's
a low bid at this stage to ask that we call this episode "I briefly worked with Clippy," because
yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's huge.
Well, and
Um,
I more sat at the knee of my planning director who preceded me on the sort of Microsoft business at Wyden, who in was one of the people behind Microsoft Bob, which was the product that spawned Clippy, which has never been, I think, given its due. It was an extraordinarily visionary ahead of its. I think Microsoft Bob spawned both Clippy and Comic Sans.
wow.
Uh, that I may be imagining that. I'll have to check that. But yeah, it was this weird personalization kind of thing, which was 25 years too soon. You know, like all the ideas were there, but none of the technology. And even now, like if they tried to make Clippy, it would just be as annoying as all the AI assistants are.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
it's like still not time for Clippy, but one day. All right. So
So,
mascots.
so, yeah, are we going to say our best ones, or are we going to say, or should we say the worst ones?
Well, that's good. I haven't thought about worst.
Oh, I always find it's so easy to say my worst.
Okay.
Well, because also if we're going to include characters and mascots, you've got adult humans, you've got celebrity endorsers.
You see, I think that's a different category.
Okay, so I'll shelve that.
Humans, no.
Okay, well don't worry, I've still got loads. Don't I've
I
still got
mean,
loads because
and then there's borderline like the Green Giant, human or not human. Probably like
okay, humanoid, yeah, understood. Okay, so there are some liminal ones. But well, in which case you're not going to like one of mine, who's Mr. Clean, because he's humanoid, but he's a
yeah, yeah,
character.
yeah, yeah.
Detest Mr. Clean. Does a job for sure, but then they obviously zhuzhed him up from being just a straight up cartoon character to becoming a 3D rendered, uncanny
Yeah,
figure.
it's not good.
Creepy, creepy, and immaculate white, very tight white trousers and t-shirt, bald. It's just really intimidating. Didn't like at all. Who else do I really dislike? Obviously the Energizer Bunny. Really respect it as a construct in terms of longevity, sort of affinity with the product, getting across the benefit, like hardworking device, semiotically and aesthetically unacceptable. Like is my like no.
Fair enough.
Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and my final one is because he's a character, but he's played by a human. He's also in a grey area, and that's the new hot Captain Birdseye.
Oh, I haven't seen him. Um, how hot would you say he is?
Like significantly hotter than he needs to be to a be a convincing like seasoned nautical pair of hands, because in order if you're going to be a captain of the ship, you're going to look like you've lived on deck, and you're going to look like a weathered piece of teak, and you're going to be very weathered.
You
Not
wouldn't trust him in the lower 40s.
No, I would not. I would not board his ship in any sense of the word. And there's a very like Italian over-groomed quality to him that's just dead wrong for fish. Just dead wrong. And but Birdseye, they've done Captain Birdseye and a jingle. So in our very, very sophisticated advertising algorithm, coming up very high.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, all the right things. I mean, the like strategy, bang on. It's execution as ever, isn't it? Right? It's
Oh
like
yeah, it's
you know,
absolutely.
don't go with Signori Birdseye. Go with
So those are my worst ones. Why don't you say your good ones and then I'll say my good ones?
well, if because spontaneously thinking about the worst ones, um, M&M's.
Oh my God, that's a blindingly good one in that it's so bad.
Yeah,
And then
I mean,
the worst.
and bad because it could be good, right? Like because they're just writing a sitcom. They could say anything. It could be funny. And it just isn't. And the weird thing of they're asking you to eat them,
Yeah.
which I mean, is one of the ones I want to talk about. Like, there's a different take on that, but yeah, just they ought to be. And every now and then you feel like I bet the original version of this was funny, and now it's been neutered by process, and it's not funny now. Yeah.
They had an execution a couple of years ago. It was still running on TV until really quite recently. It probably still is. Huge spend behind it of the husband coming home, finding the wife in bed with one. Do you remember that
Yeah,
one?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
and she's
yeah,
eating him. And it's
yeah.
like, obviously people are going to clutch their pearls over the fact there's an infidelity script, but it's not that funny. And
No,
don't eat the mascot. Don't make it weird.
yeah. And the
Yeah.
and the one with the barbecue where
Oh yeah.
and you feel like you just know that because like North American advertising agencies have people who can write like sitcom funny stuff, which they do for the Super Bowl or something, and but then it doesn't happen. It just like it's got all the setups of a thing that clearly was funny once, and then they've just taken it all out. It's very, very odd. Very odd.
It's sad. So
Yeah.
M&M's, that's a great one.
Yeah. Okay. I think we should alternate with your third best to second best to first best.
Okay,
You
third
go first.
best
Yeah.
in terms of um Okay, yeah. In terms of I'm looking at it in terms of longevity, um, cultural property. What else am I looking at? I mean, ideally, some kind of connection to the to the brand and the product. This one doesn't score that highly on that last metric, which is why it's third. The
Okay.
PG tips chimps.
Well,
Like,
yes.
doesn't
Yes.
make
Yes.
a lot of sense for
No.
chimps to be drinking tea. It's just very funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very moving seeing a chimp do anything human because it's a cigarette paper away from us. Family of chimp in jumpers, wonderful. So it's sort of in that really weird thing, and when you know that you're watching an advertising conceit, but you're just like, I loved the chimps, and I'm
Do
talking about
you?
the original chimps.
Yeah. Yeah. Given, have they? Given it was clearly like evil to make chimps do this in front of the camera for both commercial and entertainment purposes. If they were now CGI chimps, have they done CGI chimps? I
I
don't think
think
they
they
have.
might have done. Wait, who's the Tetley's the brand with the floppy caps with the
Yeah,
northern
yeah,
men?
they're not
Yeah. No,
chimps. They're
because
northerners.
one of them have teamed up with Emily Attack as a
Oh,
celebrity. They've got a character and a celebrity front
right, right.
person.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
double their money.
yeah.
But I don't know if it's PG Tips or Tetley's. So I've undermined my own point there. But there you
Yeah.
go.
But there's something about them being like if you they were CGI chimps and you knew they were CGI chimps, it wouldn't be as good, right?
No, no
If
way,
like
no way.
which is weird. Yeah, yeah,
So that's my third best. So yeah, as you pointed out, ethically not uncomplicated and very little to do with tea or, stuff that you say about tea because there's very little that you can say about PG tips, really.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
the chimps were the thing.
But undoubtedly entertaining.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I actually because this is how I spend most of my day. I was looking at TikTok earlier, and I get an uncountable, like horrible amount of Rory Sutherland on TikTok, and
I get an increasing amount. They're going for it for sure. And they
yeah.
found us. Yeah.
But
I actually,
there was a little thing. I could maybe edit it in here, which would be interesting.
Now, one of the findings in advertising, which I think is as close as you can get to a kind of Newton's first law of advertising, is that ad campaigns that feature anthropomorphic characters are just more successful than campaigns that don't.
Let's brew this.
There are certain things that people just find innately entertaining, like popping bubble wrap. I don't know why this is. We've just evolved to find animals peculiarly attention-grabbing. You can understand the evolutionary reasons why. It might be something we can eat. It might be something that wants to make us into a meal. And even better, you get the chance to do some really cool branded merch. Who could ask for more?
Of him talking about the value of anthropomorphized, characters for advertising, and just like we do, people just like them, right? It just works, But yeah,
yeah. So
that'd
who's
be
your best?
my third best. I would say is well, I've got four. Just occurred to me. Anyway, is Bibendum.
This is the Michelin Man? Yeah. That was my top. That was my top
Oh,
choice.
okay. Well, we can talk about that now.
Yeah.
We can talk about it. A, because it's fucking weird, right? It's
Really
just
weird.
deeply weird. But also obvious. It's like a man built out of tires. So if you're doing a mascot, that's thing one, right? Like build a man out of your product. In actually doing research for this episode, it never occurred to me, but that it's weird that he's white because tires aren't
Tires
white.
aren't. Tires aren't white. Yep.
But apparently they used to be. When it was
Really?
first invented, it was white, and and briefly he became black, because tires became black. And I think it's in the Wikipedia entry. It says something like it was but they reverted to white for aesthetic reasons, not racial ones, as is sometimes rumored. Um,
I like the I like the fact that he's such a graphic device that there's so much that you can do with him. So he is truly fluent. So in terms of, well, also arguably made his way into popular culture if you see a relationship between him and the Stay Puffed Marshmallow Monster in Ghostbusters. Tyres and marshmallow aren't the same thing, but there is a visual overlap there.
Yeah,
So, if you've
yeah,
made it your way into an incredibly popular blockbuster film franchise, you're doing something right. I don't know anything about Tyres in that gender stereotypical way, but I know that the only type of tire I will ever remember is Michelin. I probably can't buy a Michelin tire, but it's the only name I know.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
that's quite effective. The Michelin Guide is something that as a spin-off, something that appears completely unrelated to the product, but is of course you're going to drive around France looking for restaurants. There's the thing.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Memorable. So I think it's beautiful in a weird way, cultural property, flexible, and I see it turn up in the strangest places. Like there are big metal Michelin Man figures in the windows of a post office in Yarmouth in the Isle of Wight. And Hayden nearly bought one. He was like, "What a great thing!" I bet you
Yeah,
wouldn't
yeah.
be able to explain why, but it's a nostalgia thing.
Well, and it's commitment, right? They've kept going for how like a long time,
Yeah,
and I can imagine probably in the histories of Michelin it's disappeared at some point and come back, but they do. It's it's really like corporate commitment,
yeah.
which is
I respect that commitment. They've doubled down. They put it everywhere possible, and for a
mm,
long time. And I know nothing about that category, but that.
yeah, 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 and it's the I think of it and I think of its power because of its in you must have read. Have you read Pattern Recognition? You must have read William
I think I
Gibson.
have, yeah.
So the central character, Case Pollard, she is allergic to brands, and the most severe reaction she has in the book is a confrontation with the Michelin Man, because he is the ultimate personification of branding.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah. That makes
Um,
sense.
yeah. So
So your
uh,
your third is my first.
I've spoiled things there somewhat. Then.
No, 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 no. I think that's what makes this interesting.
Okay. So is it you again now? It's you again then.
Well, it's never not me. I just jump
Yeah.
in. And my second one is Tony Tiger, because ticks the boxes, not because I think I have any personal skin in the game when it comes to Frosties, tigers. I think there's very little relationship between a tiger and a sugary cereal. So CPG tips.
Yeah.
But in terms of them doubling down, making it last for a long time, catchphrase, memorable, did a job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, on the box, in the ads, it's like just the basics done well.
Tried to update him, tried to bring him into the, as discussed, slightly character light landscape that we find ourselves in now.
Yeah. 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 And see previous episodes for discussion of Only
Absolutely,
the Tiger
please.
and motocross.
What's your second?
Well, relating to the M&M's conversation, Pepperami.
Oh my God, that is another blinding one. God, I hadn't thought of that.
But I mean, it's just the product, and he demands that you eat him, and but in a adult, like an adult. You know what I mean? Like
Really Larry adult.
yeah, not in
Yeah.
a sort of weird M&M kind of not really admitting what's going on here kind of way. Just like you know, and then just it's a bit of an animal. It's
It's so
just
good.
so
It's so
it
good.
is, you know. How do we communicate that this is sort of meat? Well, it's a bit of an animal. It's just everything about it really like clever, and it was funny, and probably of its time in a way that might be bad if we go and look at it now. I'm trying to remember. It feels
God, yeah.
like sort of laddie.
Do you think, yeah,
You know,
lad culture, do you think it was like a 90s brief
it
where it was like,
probably
right,
was. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And probably was it Mother? It was probably Mother, wasn't it? It's probably that
I don't know that Mother
lad. mother
I'd like
thing.
to think the mother didn't exist when the Pepperami animal was written, but we will look it up after this, and it will be
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
trademarked by Robert Senior. Da, 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 da.
yeah. But I mean, just it, again, just and again, probably at a time when no one else was doing that, when advertising thought it was too clever to do mascots and characters, and they just went, it's a
I'm
bit of
doing
an
it.
animal. We're going to have the thing say, eat me. It was very good. I like that a lot. Yeah, yeah.
That is
You got
great.
a choice left now.
Yeah, yeah, I do, I do.
Okay.
My last answer is a little bit of a cheat because it's the character of a polar bear, but it's the polar bear that has been used by a few brands very well. Coca-Cola,
Yeah.
but to a greater extent, Fox Mints. I
Fox's Glacier
loved,
Mint.
loved the Fox Mints polar bear. Loved
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Thought
yeah,
it
yeah,
was really like just a lovely drawing.
yeah.
Um, and objectively not the best mint on the market, but would be much more likely to choose because of the polar
What's the
bear.
best mint on the market then?
Murray mints, arguably, the ones that my grandmother used to give me. Very, very good. But I'd eat a smint or I'd have a chewy soft mint over a polar, like little glassy. No, no,
Oh,
no good.
really? Oh, really? Murray mint's too good to hurry mints, I think you'll
Another great
find.
line.
Yeah, yeah. Um, wow. Yeah, good polar bears. And is it Cresta? Was
Yeah,
also a polar bear?
yeah.
And there was probably another. I'm thinking of another polar bear somewhere. I mean, they're a gift, right?
They do crop up, and they are in real life, in nature, objectively terrifying.
Mm,
Like really, so much larger than anything around it in the bits of the world where it crops up.
mm.
Apex predator. If you shaved it, its skin would be black, which is wild. Yeah, and like just really monstrously aggressive, very nasty. And then there's this delightful graphic device on an iceberg, being like,
Prob-
again, eat me.
Probably none of that mentioned in the pitch for the
No,
Crest.
definitely not in the Coca-Cola like casting conversation about the
Yeah.
like Christmas ad.
No, no, no. Yeah. Oh, very good. Yeah. That I like the way you've got round that. So I've got two cheating because I do actually realise that I've got four, but that's okay because we'll end up with six because we had two for Michelin. So
I think yeah, and I think as we've proved, this isn't an exact science.
no, but. So my next choice, I can't say my final choice, is of course the Smash Alien. He's dusty, isn't he? It's a bit dusty. Been on a shelf for quite a long time. Which
Tell me
what winds up, I think. No, yes. Oh, but I think the key's gone. Had this for such a long time. His
he's lost an
antenna
antennae.
have broken. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I just remember cackling with so much delight as a child watching those ads. Just what was the line for Mash Get Smash? And um, just I mean, it's that classic, like, why aliens, but, or robots are aliens, alien robots. Um, and then just they pursued them, and you see them in antique shops, junk shops and stuff, and they're just, but that era of making ads with characters, just chucking a character in and then making some merch, and then we've got some home pride men downstairs as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And they made loads of homeware as well, didn't they? You
Yeah,
could
yeah,
get like
yeah.
nice stuff as well.
Yeah, yeah. But and I think some of that as well is due to again the sort of economics and organizational physics of that era of making stuff is you would do it for 5 years, 10 years.
Well, yeah,
You make
that's
one ad a year and you're like, well, we have to remember we're going to show it for a long time, and then if we do a new one, it's got to be similar to the old ones. Take a big commitment to drop a mascot once you had one, probably.
well, that's the thing, right? And that's the kind of slightly boring but serious point that needs to be made, which is like why are there less? It's like, well, because of because of the time frame and the short termism and promotion cycles and and all of that. So because it's that you have to invest in them and you have to commit and you have to do it properly. Otherwise, it's just another annoying thing that is dancing across your screen and you're being like, what?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
you could get a certain distance now. I wonder if you could. Obviously, no marketer would allow me to do it with a bit of just like, what the fuck? So, a robot to sell mashed potato, a chimp to sell tea, be like, and obviously it depends on the story and the connective tissue to that you would do that. But I wonder if
There's
with just a lateral move, how far you could get.
there is in the documentary. There's that sort of mid 2000s or thing where was it Taco Bell where they
Yeah,
just had that like deep, deliberately weird kind of countercultural mascot-y thing, didn't they? Which was it was a bit of that, I think. But yeah, well, and it's I think they disappeared because they just became unfashionable with creatives, and they seemed like old school because they're such a good advertising property. They seemed like too obvious and you know weren't sufficiently cool and interesting in an era when people were doing manifestos and Guinness surfers and things were supposed to be like important and all like stuff supposed to matter. I mean, I don't think it was necessarily purpose. Like people would go, "Oh, it killed by purpose." It was killed by a yearning for significance. I think where which was completely obviously wrong. It's like just have a song
make them
and a
laugh.
theme. You know,
Um, it
I've got
is worth it is worth a shout out to two characters that like haven't gone away. They haven't had to be revived. To like one's just run, and that's the meerkat.
yeah, yeah,
Like the
yeah,
whole thing's been built like that from the beginning.
yeah, yeah,
It is the brand.
yeah,
They like produce on like Paul Hollywood's in some ad now, and it's like I almost don't care what he's
yeah,
doing there. They
yeah,
objectify him, like whatever it works.
yeah,
I don't like it, but I respect it. Like
yeah,
that's what it does. It's the name. The other one is the Andrex puppy, which obviously
yeah,
used to be the thing because it was like, don't think about the fact that you're on the loo. Look at this dog. It's
yeah,
soft like our product.
yeah,
Genius.
yeah.
And what Andrex are doing now, I don't know if you've seen the latest work from FCB. It's all about doing a poo at work, and it's all about overcoming like taboos. And the work's great. It's actually really good. It's won loads of stuff, but the only shout out to the Andrex puppy is quite like it seems quite random. Like if you don't know what you're looking for, there's just a Labrador puppy just like under someone's desk at work before they go for a poo, and
Oh,
it's just like it's here.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I love those. I
it's
like
just
those
a
things.
nod.
The
It's just
little
a little
sort of
nod. It's
Easter
nice.
eggy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I've seen one about doing a poo at school,
Yep. 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 Yep.
which was good. We obviously have different media patterns, but
Yeah, I'm getting the guy doing a poo at work and just doing like a little dance afterwards. A very good dance.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I have this book which I've had for ages, which I love, and I marked out two things. This is one of my favourite things ever because it's so lazy. Which is
Meet Mr. Happyfoot.
Meet Mr. Happyfoot, and it's just they're like, yeah, we'll just call it Happyfoot. That'll do, Mister Happyfoot, whatever. Yeah, that's fine. And
No
then
need to
similarly,
workshop that. Our work
yeah,
here is done. Thin.
thins it,
Wow.
paint
Thins it.
thinner. What do you do? We thin paint, and
Yeah,
our mascot's called Mister Thins It.
there's no arguing with that, is there?
No, there's no need. Like, what? How do we explain the product benefit? Well, he's called Mister Thins It. Can I do my final one because he's
You
been
certainly can. You certainly can. You're on
lurking
a
in the
roll.
background all this time. It's um, Fat Charlie. His name is the little chef. He's called Fat Charlie.
My God, of course.
And there's Fat Charlie.
There's Fat Charlie. I didn't know his name, but of course I know him. Although, how many little chefs are there left? I'm going to say 20, if that.
I'm not sure there's even that many. I think it might have gone all together.
I went to one on, on New Year's Day, maybe 5 years ago. It was unutterably bleak, but
Hmm.
and quite expensive. But it happened. You know, it was nostalgic.
one of my first jobs, I don't know if it was actually my first job, was I was the account manager on Little Chef, and they never did any work. You know, it was that thing. We spent a year going to meetings. Well, maybe we did the odd print ad, and the agency had done a TV ad before, but I never got to do it. And then years later, after I'd written a book about cafes, there was a phase where all the brands wanted their own cookbook. So there was a Liam Perrin's cookbook and a Branston cookbook, and briefly Little Chef were going to have a cookbook, and someone else was going to write the recipes, and I was going to be allowed access to the Little Chef corporate archive to be able to write the story stuff and write the rest of the book. I was so excited, but
Yeah.
it went away as a thing. I think because they were going bust, and they've been bought by various people, and but they also were. I don't know if it was, but at the time I was talking to them, they were, I think, owned by the same people who also owned Happy Eater.
Peter, yes.
Do you remember Happy Eater?
I do, yes. Dimly, but I do remember it.
Basically the same thing, but on the other side of an A road normally, and but slightly more modern.
Yum, yum.
Yeah, and it was weird. I'll add those in for reference for people.
Yeah.
But Fat Charlie has had quite a few existences. If you look at old Little Chef ads, he's been animated. He's been, well, I don't think he was ever real. I suppose these days you might do a Captain Birdseye with him, and
Well, they tried it with the
possibly
Milky
no
Bar
longer
Kid.
call him Fat.
Yeah. No, you can't do that. Can't do that. Milky Bar Kid. They tried to turn him into a real kid. Actually, quite sweet. Like a few different iterations, and I don't think it works to go from. It's a bit like I'm a real boy. It's like don't do that.
But he originally, I mean, this is me showing my age. I think the Milky Bar Kid was real to begin with.
Oh, so it went real,
Then
animated,
cartoon.
real.
Yeah. The full cycle, the full mascot cycle. He's existed in all the, like, solid, liquid, and gas. All the
Yeah.
various forms of mascot he's existed in. And I think, I mean, I'm sure you're the same. My first instinct with any brief would always be song and mascot.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Ideally, mascot singing song.
Yeah.
Like,
I got really overexcited because am I allowed to say the brand I'm working on? Yeah, I probably am. eBay. I'm thinking of doing some like really good music in ads, and one of the creatives in the American team has put Return of the Mac by Mark Morrison in, and just like obviously it's a Mac coat, and it's such a good track, but I got too excited and I didn't anticipate the inevitable moment in a creative review where someone was like, well, obviously we can't do that because of Mark Morrison and his checkered history, and I was like, oh yeah, that's true.
yeah.
That is true. So that was a difficult conversation today, having got so overexcited about doing it.
Yeah. That is a shame.
Well, there's always next week.
Music. That would be a good thing for someone to ask us a question about.
Yeah.
Music in ads. Because I saw something. Oh, it's the Airbnb campaign.
Yeah.
Where you can tell clear. I can't remember what it is, but the music is clearly based on the piece of music they wanted for the campaign, but isn't the piece of music.
Yeah. No, we should. Please, can someone ask us a question about music? Because otherwise we're going to have to talk about celebrity brand ambassadors. So
Yes.
that'd be good.
And we also should say, in closing, that we are still planning to answer the statistics question.
Yes.
And we've lined up a special guest, but she was unable to attend.
Yes.
So,
we're taking it seriously, and because we can't answer it adequately, we're bringing in an expert.
Yeah. The world's leading expert.
Yeah. So it's a world first for this podcast.
Yeah. Well, that was a good one. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, me too.
And it's good night from him.